Hi class, Mrs. Calvi here. Quick tutorial on finding the circumference of a circle. Now I have a couple of formulas here. If you notice, there are two formulas for finding the circumference of a circle. We have circumference is equal to pi times diameter, or we have the circumference is equal to 2 times pi times r, which is the radius. So when you look in your textbook at 9.1, finding the circumference of a circle, you actually see this page, which gives you the two formulas I just mentioned. Now, if you look at this diagram here, you can see the diameter is the length of the circle through its center point. So from one end to the other is the diameter. The radius is from the center point to any endpoint in the circle. So you can see this is going up. It could be anywhere. It can go from the center down, from the center to the side. And the circumference is finding the distance around the circle. All right. Now I mentioned pi. This is the symbol for pi. And if I go back to my tool here, so pi is actually equivalent to 3.142857414, and it actually keeps on going and doesn't stop. So many of you may know that pi we just refer to as equaling 3.14. All right. And a lot of times we'll say March 14th is Pi Day. So we just know it as pi is equal to 3.14. So we are rounding that number. All right, so going back to our formulas, you can use either of these formulas for finding the circumference of a circle. Okay. I find it easier to just memorize one of them, and I typically use this one, circumference is equal to pi times the diameter. Because this is the thing, if you are looking at a problem, let's take a look at this problem here. It says, find the circumference of each circle to the nearest tenth if necessary. Use 3.14 or 22/7. 22/7 gives you with more decimal points. So we just always use 3.14 for pi. So for example 3a here, if you notice, the diameter is 8 inches. So they're going to be using the formula c is equal to pi times diameter because they're giving us the diameter. But even if they only gave us the radius as an example b here, we could still use the c equals pi times diameter, because you know that the radius is from the center to any endpoint of the circle. So if the radius on this circle is 14 centimeters, that means the diameter is twice the radius, because this would be 14 centimeters and this would be 14 centimeters. So that means the diameter in this case would be 28 centimeters. So I'm trying to explain that you can use either of these formulas and you would get the circumference. I tend to use this one because it's just easier to remember one. So if we go back to, so we're going to use this one as an example here. We're going to use 3a. So this circle has a diameter of 8 inches. So if I have my diameter is equal to 8 inches, and they want us to find the circumference of the circle. So again, I'm going to use this formula because I find this to be the easiest. So circumference is equal to pi, which is 3.14, times my diameter of 8, right? Okay, so I would take 3.14, multiply it by 8. This part you can use your calculator for. I do want you to show all of this work for me when you are actually solving. That's going to be the picture part of your work. But the actual calculation you may use a calculator for. If I were to calculate this, I'm going to actually, because this is approximate, because we are not actually using the full value of what pi is. So in this case, this is actually going to be approximately. If you remember, the approximate symbol is, it kind of looks like an equal sign, but it's a little bit of a squiggly line instead. So the circumference here is approximately 25.12. This said to round to the nearest tenth. So we would put 25.1, and this was inches. So 25.1 inches is the circumference of a circle that has a diameter of 8 inches. Okay, so I want to go ahead and use this example with the 14 centimeters for the radius, but I'm still going to use my diameter formula so I can show you how to do that. So let me just erase. And now I'm going to be using, hold on one second. Okay, so now I have a circle that has a radius of 14 centimeters. So my radius, the information they're giving me is my radius of my circle is 14 centimeters. And they're asking us to find the circumference. I'm going to still use this formula even though it's telling me I need diameter. Well, I can figure out what the diameter is if the radius is 14 because we know that the diameter, my diameter is equal to 2 times my radius. So if I know my radius is 14 centimeters, what is 2 times 14? 2 times 14 would then give me 28. So then I know that my diameter is, hold on one second. So here my diameter is 28 centimeters. Because I know that my diameter is 2 times my radius. So now I can still use this formula, which I would prefer to use, because this is the one I think is the easiest to remember. So now I'm going to go ahead and use that formula. My circumference is approximately equal to 3.14 times my diameter, which we now know is 28 because it's twice my radius. So here the circumference is approximately, we round, 88 centimeters. And if I actually gave you the 3.14 times 28, that would have been 87.92, but we're rounding to the nearest tenth, or in this case, I rounded to the nearest whole, which was 88 centimeters. Okay, so the circumference of a circle that has a radius of 14 centimeters is approximately 88 centimeters. So remember, the circumference is finding the distance around the circle. All right, I hope that was easy to understand. You guys know you can always go to the videos within the chapter. There are some helpful videos there as well. All right, I will talk to you soon.